So, in the first and the second part of the textual discussion of this chapter, Deep Water, we have discussed how during his childhood days Douglas had the fear of water, what was the impact of his mother on him, who kept in his mind fresh the um, accident of each drowning in Yakima River, and what kind of fear he experienced when he went with his father to California beach. He tried to learn swimming at the YMCA pool, but again he had a mishappening there when a muscular boy threw him down to the pool, and going down uh, first two times the pool, he had the most awful fear imaginable. He experienced it, and when he went down the third time, he experienced death. Uh, and this has long-term and short-term effect on his personality. Uh, it ruined his fishing, boating, and swimming trips. And immediately after being brought out of water, he, after some time, uh, he went down to his house, and uh, for weeks he had uncomfortable time. Whenever he would go near water, his legs would tremble. Whenever he would go near any lake, his knees would tremble, and that would make him sick to the stomach. And he could not go anywhere. Now we'll discuss how he uh, tried to overcome this fear and turned out to be an ultimate winner. I used every way I knew to overcome this fear. This sentence again shows Douglas' persevering attitude, that never dying attitude, always trying attitude. I used every way I knew, means he tried every way he was aware of to overcome, to control this fear, to win over this fear. But it held me, the fear held him strongly in its grip, in its hold. Finally, one October, means in October, I decided on a day of October, I decided to, means he decided to get an instructor and learn to swim. So now he went to a trainer so that he could know, like a professional swimmer, how to swim. I went to a pool and practiced 5 days a week, an hour each day. You can mark this if you like. The instructor put a belt uh, around knee means his waist. A rope attached to the belt went through a pulley. So a rope then was tied to the belt. So what was the instructor doing? He was teaching him with a physical aid. If we give a physical aid or a visual aid, a verbal aid, learning becomes easy. So here the learner was a bit weak. He required more effort, more support. So he was given an aid, or an aid was used here, a belt. A rope attached to the belt went through a pulley. So what is a pulley? It's a wheel-like component that is attached to a cable and has a groove for a rope to run through. Means that there is a space made on wheel that uh, is used to run a rope, means pass a rope. uh, and we similarly here, there was an overhead cable, and on that cable was hanging a pulley. Held, he means the instructor held, caught to the end of the rope, to the other end of the rope. One end was attached to Douglas belt, another end was held by the instructor. Means there was no fear of drowning in water. And we went back and forth, forward and backward, back and forth from one corner of the pool to another, hour after hour, day after day, week after week. So for hours, days, weeks, They kept on doing that. On each trip across the pool, a bit of the fear held me. Each time the instructor relaxed his hold on the rope and I went under water, some of the old terror returned, came back, means he became aware of it. And my legs froze. It had the same freezing effect. It was 3 months before the tension began to thin. So it took 3 months, as we discussed in the introductory lecture, it took 3 months for the tension to relax, to thin. Then he taught me to put my face under water and exhale. So the trainer did not directly start with exhalation and inhalation. First, he made him comfortable in water with support of a rope. Then he taught him how to exhale, means when you put your face underwater, you are to breathe out. Exhale is to breathe out. And when you raise your nose, then you are to breathe in, that is to inhale. I repeated the exercise hundreds of times. So this was the homework Douglas was doing willingly. Why? Because he wanted to overcome his fear bit by bit, means step by step, little by little. I shed part of that fear that held me, means it did not go all of a sudden. When my head went under water, next he held me at the side of the pool and had me kick with my legs. For weeks I did just that. So that means for weeks he was practicing on one part. For weeks he was practicing on another part, that is on inhalation and exhalation. Next he was practicing with striking with legs. At first my legs refused to work, but they gradually, step by step, slowly relaxed. First, there was an opposition, means the legs were not obeying his command. If he wanted them to strike, they did not. But gradually, slowly, they relaxed, and finally, he could order them. So, this is a change, marked change. So, thus, piece by piece, first inhalation, exhalation, comforting him in water, then striking with legs, he built a swimmer. So, he was quite methodical. And then he had perfected each piece. Perfection being staying in water, in exhalation, inhalation, striking with legs, and then he joined them into an integrated whole, well united whole. He put them together into an integrated whole. In April, he said, in October, the training started. In April, it got over. So it was of around 7 months. Now you can swim. Now you have the ability to swim, dive off and swim the length of the pool, crawl stroke, using both your arms and legs. The instructor was finished. That means his training uh, of me as a swimmer was over. So, but I was not finished, means he was not satisfied. For him, his training was not over. I still wondered, I still felt surprised, doubted if I would be terror stricken, means if the I would be filled with terror when I was alone in pool. I tried it. Means he was now in self introspection, self analysis kind of a state. I tried it. Means he swam alone. I swam the length, means distance of the pool, forward and backward, up and down. This means forward and backward. Tiny vestiges, traces, marks of old terror would return. But now I could frown, look angrily, and say to that terror, trying to scare me, well, here is to you. He as if was conversing with terror. Look, and off I would go. Means he would swim for another distance of the pool. This went on until July, and he kept doing it for 3 months. But I was still not satisfied. I was not sure that all the terror had left. Why he is in such a state of mind? He is in such a state of mind because he had been victim of extreme terror. He knows what terror could do to him. So I went to Lake Wentworth in New Hampshire. dived off a dock at Triggs Island and swam 2 miles, almost 3.5 kilometers, across the lake to Stamp Act Island from one shore of the lake to another. I swam the crawl using both his arms and legs, breaststroke only his chest, side strokes with his arms only, and backstroke reverse. Only once did the terror return when I was in the middle of the lake. So I put my face under and saw nothing but bottomless water. Now see this statement, I put my face under and saw nothing but bottomless water. In view of that statement, when he went down water for the second time in the pool, when he was thrown into the pool, he said, I went down endlessly. That pool was just 9 feet deep. And now the same boy, as a young man, is swimming in water which is actually bottomless. So, what a change in his personality, and how has it emerged? With the help of the instructor and his own effort. The old sensation returned in a little. I laughed and said, well, Mr. Terror, what do you think you can do to me? So, what he's again saying this to the terror in the bottomless water. And what happened? The terror flew away and Douglas moved on. So, this is now the reversal. The terror which was holding him tightly in its grip is now gone. Yet I had residual doubts, means some doubts left. At my first opportunity, chance, I moved to the west, went up the Titan to Conrad Meadows, up the Conrad Creek Trail to Mead Glacier. We have seen these pictures of these places, Conrad Meadows and Mead Glacier, and camped in High Meadow by the side of Warm Lake. The next morning, I stripped, means he removed his clothes, dived into the lake, and swam across to the other shore and back, just as Duke Harperon used to do. So the famous swimmer used to do this. I shouted with joy, and Gilbert Peak returned the echo, reflection of the sound waves when in hilly areas or the area which is otherwise quite wide and there is nobody and you shout your sound you hear back, so that is echo. So he also heard his echo. I had conquered my fear of water. So he had put down his fear with his grit, perseverance, continuous effort. Okay, uh, generally we say the conquerors are in war, and what is war? Which destroys completely. Here, the fear had war on him. It was destroying his life completely, and he, with his effort, conquered the fear and emerged as a conqueror. So the experience had a deep meaning for me, as only those who have known stark terror, extreme terror, and conquered it, won over it with authority, with strength, can appreciate, can praise. So when you see a person in a situation in which you have been once, you can identify with him, and his situation in a way become your situation, and you appreciate that person's effort. So similarly, he is saying that those who have experienced stark terror, they only can appreciate my conquering of this fear. In death, there is peace. There is terror only in the fear of death. So he had experienced uh, peace when he went down for the third time in the pool. So when tender arms like mother were around him, he felt as much comfortable as one feels in the lap of a mother. And he also had felt that terror that had paralyzing effect on him, that increased 9 feet to 90, then it into a long journey, and finally into an endless depth. So, what is his message? There is terror only in the fear of death. So when he was conscious that he would die, he was scared, but when he was nearing death, he was peaceful. President Roosevelt also said that, President of America, once he was, all we have to fear is fear itself. So the fear is in this awareness that you will lose. There, the fear is in fighting, in actual losing, there is an experience. Because I had experienced both the awareness, sensation of dying and the terror that fear of it can produce. Yes, this we have discussed earlier. The will to live somehow grew in strength. So the desire to live, the strong intention to live, that he did not want to go on with his fishing, boating, swimming trip ruined and just cursing life, just cursing his fear. At last I felt released. Earlier he was a prisoner of his fear. Wherever he went for swimming, boating, or fishing, he felt being in the grip of fear, being prisoner of fear. Now he was independent of fear because he actually was swimming in bottomless water, free to walk the trails, path through hilly areas, and climb the peaks and push aside fear. As the strong boy just tossed him into the pool, now he could toss the fear aside. So strong he has grown with the dint of his own effort that has caused a self belief. So this was all about the victory of a once a weak boy turning into a strong boy over the fear and becoming independent, living the life the way he liked, and becoming uh, a, such a judge who created history in the history of the court. He, with 36 years as the judge of Supreme Court, become the longest serving justice in the history of the court in America. So that's really great. Means your choices, your intentions, and your actions matter the most in changing your life. As it is an autobiography, so whatever is mentioned is true to the maximum extent. Thank you.